Tennis is life when you really think about it.
You can do it for life too.
You do it for life, man. I'm not trying to listen. I don't want to blow too much smoke. I'm getting pretty good, man. I'm getting pretty good, dude.
What does good mean?
So you're asking hard questions. I never thought about, how do we apply a constraints-based learning approach to skateboarding? And like,
I'm sure there is.
There's definitely a way to do it. People aren't doing it. Like, skateboarding is also a thing where it's like a self-expression piece. So it's weird that it's like a sport too, but it's like basketball. Like, people express themselves through basketball, but it's a sport first. Whereas I think skateboarding is, for a lot of folks, like a release.
Sure.
A time to get away, a way to express yourself, a way to express your creativity first. And it's a sport like way, way, way down the line. And a lot of people don't look at it. Like, a lot of skateboarders don't look at it like a sport or treat it like a sport.
Unless they're competing, right?
Unless they're competing like SLS or something local or
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Any skateboarders out there, listen to the show, and you need a strength coach, call your boys, man. We're trying to break into extreme sport. So let this be the PSA right now. If you're an extreme sport athlete of any kind and you need a coach, call your boys. We'll take care of you.
Here's that.
Just imagine the Pushin Performance, but the logo's got a skateboarder. You know what I'm saying? Just a little keep pushing, no G. You know what I'm saying? They got a little skateboarder on. I don't know. Am I a marketing genius? Maybe. I don't know. Right? JT, I don't know.
Got the Christ air feel. Just
little airwalk, pushing P on the t-shirt. Listen, I don't know.
Oh man, we're moving.
Are we the best to ever do it from a marketing standpoint? I don't know. Maybe. Who's to say? Who's the judge? Why not us? Why not us? All right.
Why not us?
Why not us? Damn. Well, JT, you hit my line this morning. We were potentially going to record something else, and you said, "No, let's go in the mailbag. Let's pull some cues here, bro." We got some questions from the old IG story. That's some good ones.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute. It's been a minute since we did a full pull and cue episode. So I figured we'd pull out a couple of the best ones and just go rapid fire on them and see what kind of answers we get.
Yeah, we'll go as rapid fire as we can, because I think we talked about, like, each one of these questions that we'll talk about probably has its own. It deserves its own episode for 45 minutes plus. So be as concise as we can. I know I get it. I get in my head sometimes and just start talking for hours on end for something. But we'll do our best. I think these are like questions I had, as a young coach myself, and I still hear with coaches around. So hopefully others are still having some thoughts in their head with a lot of these questions that provide value at the end of the day.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're really just creating discussion. Can you just get more questions from these questions? Maybe toss ideas out or using our ideas out. If not, cool.
Yeah. And if you disagree, let us know. We want to have a conversation. If you have more questions, as always, either our personal DMs or the Pushin Performance IG threads, whatever, hit us in the DM with your questions or things you want us to talk about on the show.
For sure. And man, let's start off hot. Let's
get it.
When is it appropriate to refer out versus expand your toolkit to help somebody?
Great question. The first thing that came to mind is, when in doubt, refer out. It rhymes, so it can't be wrong. That's just kind of like one of the tenets of the world, to be honest. I do look at them as kind of the same thing. Like, in my mind, they're both referring out, right? Like, why are we doing it? The end goal is the same, right? I don't have enough information to support the person in front of me. So, like, or maybe the information I need falls outside of my scope or outside of my wheelhouse. So I look at them very similarly because, again, the end goal is the same, of supporting the person, supporting my client. If fulfilling my responsibility to them. So I think like you should be expanding your toolkit or coming up with questions to then chase down that rabbit hole and expand your toolkit almost daily, 1,000% weekly, right? Like, and even if it's something you think you know well, is there a better option, right? Like, there probably is a better way out there, or a better way in specific context. So I think it's expanding your toolkit and at least referring out to have a conversation with another practitioner, whether it is a physical therapist, whether it is a dietitian, just to learn more. That should happen very, very, very regularly on a really regular time frame. But for me, when I'm thinking about like getting practical, getting actionable, some of the non-negotiables that I think have come up across my career regularly, one of them is going to be pain/injury, and this is a tough one, right? Like, when is it really pain and when is it just kind of discomfort? I think it's kind of hard to draw a firm line in the sand, and I'm sure there are lines out there because it can be such a subjective experience for people, right? Like, you might be, JT full Mamba mentality, like in seething pain and be like, yeah, 1 out of 10. Like, I'm chilling, I'm good, I can keep going. Whereas like someone might be new to training and they've never been sore before and they're like, I'm injured, but they're just a little sore. You know what I mean? So I think the subjective experience makes this tough. But one thing, like if someone's experiencing like closing angle joint pain, so like as I'm lifting my arm up, my back of my shoulder starts to hurt, or the top of my shoulder, like AC joint starts to hurt, or sorry, glenohumeral joint starts to hurt. If I'm squatting and I'm getting pinching in the front of the hip, like some form of closing angle joint pain might be indicative of something outside of our scope from a restriction or injury standpoint. So I think that's definitely refer out to a physical therapist. If pain is really bad and especially if they have a history of injury, or it seems like it might be injured, like, then definitely referring out to a physical therapist. So like obviously if something's like torn, like black and blue bruising around a muscle, like, yep, we're out of there. Or if someone's experiencing like really high levels of pain. And honestly, any more of my career, I'm more conservative. So like 5 out of 10 or higher, I'm really thinking about referring out. And then from a nutrition standpoint, disordered eating patterns are way more prevalent than you think. And you're doing your client a disservice if you're trying to help them navigate that alone. Not saying you shouldn't be a part of the picture at all. You're there to help them. You're there to hold them accountable. You're there to be able to bounce ideas and questions off of. But if one of your clients is having really bad or has a really bad relationship with food, exhibiting some disordered eating patterns, 1,000% you're calling a dietitian. And anymore, there are dietitians in the field who are literally disordered eating dietitians. Like, that is their specialty. So if you don't know any, hit us up. We know plenty. Same thing with physical therapists. That can kind of help you with these specific situations. Again, if you don't, you're doing your client a disservice.
Yeah, very, very well said. I think all great points that need to be discussed a little bit more and really talked about, because there's a lot of ways you can think about this, and in the sense of at least how it's been. Referring out being that I've seen is, oh, there's a pain. You have pain in your shoulder. Hey, talk to your PT, and then come to me when you're back. Or I understand on the other side of that. Let me learn about the shoulder. Let me try to fix it myself. Like, all are both kind of in the spectrum where, like, there's a fine line to dance of probably why this question is asked. Like, how would I know when I refer out? And I think to what you said, like, you should always be expanding your toolkit. Like, it's a interesting place to be in as a coach, knowing that we are pretty much helping somebody's life in all aspects, knowing that our scope is technically like specifically around training and then all that stuff. So, but at the same time, we have conversations around all the other aspects that are out of our scope, right? So I think it's a matter of us always asking better questions. I think as a coach, that's going to be the one skill that will always be within our scope.
Mm-hmm.
And the intent of those questions are going to dictate when and how you should refer out. Like, are we asking a question to figure out a way to help solve the problem? Or are we asking a question to help them solve their problem and understand a little bit more about themselves? So I think there's an art to asking a question, which every coach should refine their skill to do. So it's an interesting place to be in, where like it's tough. Like there's not really a hard line with a lot of these conversations where it, is this something I can help with, or is this somebody that somebody needs to step in with? And regardless, I think referring out should also come with the notion of bringing into the relationship or this coaching conversation. Right. We should always work with whoever we're referring out to, because assuming let's just say it's a shoulder injury, we refer them to a physical therapist. We should be in contact or in some form of communication with whatever the PT is doing with our client to make sure their training or their system that we're applying to somebody's life is congruent, right? There's like some continuity in it. So it's a conversation that needs to be had. Always expand the toolkit. Like I would say, have the lens of all of these people that you're referring out to.
Yeah.
So you could ask those questions, right? I feel like I've expanded my toolkit from the lens of a physical therapist, and now I can actually ask better questions for the client to help them understand a little bit more about themselves, and then at the same time, working closely with the professional that is actually credentialed to help them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I guess at the end of the day, like you're not a physical therapist. Like you can learn a lot about physical therapy. You can learn a lot about nutrition. You're not a dietitian. Like that doesn't mean you can't help them in those areas. But what it really does is help you have better conversation with and more intelligent conversations. Ask better questions to those practitioners. So then it's like, cool. How can I best support this client as creating this kind of like holistic team for this person to now really get them back to either where they were or get them going to where they want to be, like whatever it is. Like I think that's I love that. Like you're not just passing them off, but we're basically building a team now.
Yeah.
Right. That's just trying to support somebody. So
for sure.
I like that. All right. Something fun. We talk about play a lot. Are we the play guys?
The play guys?
Is that our play? Is that our niche? Are we becoming the play guys?
What do you mean play?
The fun guys? How you mean play? All right,
a fun
next
guy.
question. I'm a fun guy. We just need fun guys. Marketing. Marketing. We got to call our marketing guy. It's us. We're marketing geniuses. All right, favorite games to integrate into your general population classes.
All right. I love this one. Because there's a lot of ways you can really think about games, and why you would probably ask this question is to find a way to create some fun in the class, right? I would imagine fun, competitiveness, bring up the energy, the spirits, the vibes, the vibrations. Let's increase that.
Elevate vibrations.
So, elevate vibration. I think about playground stuff. Tag. Let's variations of those things that we used to play, when we were kids.
Did you play Womp?
Let's just Womp? Oh, that's the Philly stuff. What is that?
I'm pretty sure. I'm keeping my bag here. I'm pretty sure Womp is like, all right, one group's running around the playground. They can't be on the ground. They got to be on the play set. One person's walking around with their eyes closed, and they say Womp. And if they say Womp when you're on the ground and not on the play set, then you become the Womper, and then they get to jump on the play set. It's a dangerous game.
Never played this game.
Electric.
Womp's like a Bay Area term back in the 2006 days, I think.
What's it mean?
You could look it up. I don't know. It's like womp, womp, womp. I actually don't know. I remember hearing it a lot. Kick Snake. Check it out. YouTube. But stuff like that, right? It's how do you start to integrate those concepts of WOMP, tag, heads
Wow.
up, 7 up into the class. So
Top
to
7.
without veering too off into those games, like I like tag, right? It was something that I liked a lot. So the concept of it is, I gotta touch somebody, tag somebody, and now they gotta touch somebody within a group
Mm-hmm.
to kind of simplify that. Bear crawl position,
Mm.
little tag. So what are the movements that I want them to learn or get better at or be more efficient
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
within the class and use it within a setting of a game that kind of gets them off of that, but they're actually learning those movement skills, right? They're learning those skills that I actually wanted them to learn anyway, but now they're just doing it in a fun way,
Yeah.
right? So playing basketball a lot, you think of these one-sided games, you kind of restrict, you have constraint-based rules. So for example, me and you, I'm working on layups only. I'm always starting at 3-point line. I have one dribble. I got to find a way to lay up, with you guarding me, and I can only do layup. So that's the constraint.
Yeah, it would never happen.
Right.
It
And
would never.
it would happen every time, like literally every time. So I was like, who get somebody to D me up? it's not, it's a
Coach,
cone.
you need help. He need
This
help.
is a cone
He's
right
a
now,
cone.
right?
That boy
Now,
Cone, what you want?
is this his defense drill or what? It's because it's not my offense drill. But yeah, it's what are we doing in class for me? What are the movement patterns that I could essentially start to create within a group setting in the game? Tag is fun using reactionary games with a band. How do you do I don't know the names of these things, but let's just
Not like we should.
Yeah.
We should. All right. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna name them all. We're gonna package them all. We're gonna sell them.
Okay.
Pushin Performance Playtime ebook. Actually, it's free. We'll do free ebook. We'll do free ebook for listeners. Pushin Performance Playtime free ebook coming soon.
2 more.
Right.
I want to hear what you got.
Book picture. The picture is us on the playground. Photoshop. Boom.
Move. He's trying to D me up, but he's just frustrated. And I'm like,
I'm on fire today. All right, 2 more. Go.
2 more. You got a small resistance band. You got 2 people. It's your call, right? Let's fast feet. Everybody in the class moving their feet. They got 1 band between them. When you say go, 1 person has to grab the band. Whoever doesn't loses. And then whatever you want to attach with that, winner or loser, is really up to you. But those are probably my favorites within a Gen Pop setting.
Yeah.
Is reactionary drills and then movement based games like that involves like tag or
Yeah.
What's one other one that I was trying to think of off the top of my head? I think
Duck Goose.
Relay races are always fun, right? I used to have 20 people. Let's bear crawl at the end and bear crawl back. You got to block on your low back. If you drop it, you got to start over. So that's a cue we were going to do anyway in the warm up. So why not put in the game, right? So relay races in those things that really constrain them to a degree. So I play around with all of that stuff. So man, I could think of 1,000 more. What you got?
That's a masterful way of using constraints, right? That's really the biggest point I want to get across, right? We manipulate the constraints to change the stimulus. Or to change the movement solution, right? Or constrain the movement solution. And I think I love movement exploration and getting people to explore and find different positions and patterns they wouldn't typically get in and expose them to that. But for a lot of people, if you say, show me how many different ways you can do a lunge, they're going to just be like, bro, no, this is not what I'm here for. But then if you make it a game, all of a sudden they're getting in and out of wacky positions, right? And we're getting a good training stimulus. And honestly, it's the same thing I would do with athletes, right? I think if I want them to compete and sprint and change direction, I'm probably going to end up finding a way to make it a game and using constraints to change the stimulus, right? So to your bear crawl point, I could do 20 people, teams of 10, yoga block on the back the entire time, put a really big penalty for when you drop the yoga block off your back, you got to restart right? Or you got to wait for 10 seconds. You got to wait for 5 seconds if you drop the block and then go again. And then that way, all the rules are focusing on high quality. The number of participants, right? Two teams of 10, a ton of rest. High quality. All of this is focusing on high quality, more of like an anti-rotation type crawling pattern. But then I could do, I got 10 people. I got 5 teams of 2. You're each going to go 2 rounds through whatever, 10 yards out and back, 20 yards out and back, whatever it is. Just like full speed, get it done. And now I'm way higher stress on the shoulder because the shoulder is going to experience higher forces. Wild positions. I'm not constraining hip height. I'm not constraining anything. So I might get crazy positions, right? So like just manipulating the constraints, manipulating the space, manipulating the number of people playing, totally same idea. Still big bear crawl relay, totally different outcome. Right. So I love doing things like medicine ball, volleyball. You don't need a volleyball net. You can just put like a bunch of boxes up or whatever, something to throw the ball over. I love playing spike ball, folks. I love playing ultimate ball, which is a game I play with a lot of Gen Pop people in the past. And it's basically you get a 4-pound medicine ball and you play ultimate frisbee. We do kickoffs, so like a reverse granny toss overhead to kick the ball to kick off after you score. Like it's a lot of fun, but the ball itself, the heavier weight of the ball and like the odd kind of size of the ball forces people into crazy positions, forces people to use their hips to throw the ball for the most part. Some people get a little funky and, like just absolute spinal slingshot it. But they're not going to be able to throw the ball as far. So it's kind of forcing them in that pattern. And also the heavy weight slows the game down. Right. So you can't run with the ball. You can't run as far away from the ball. I'm typically playing smaller surfaces. I'm typically playing more people. So there's going to be lower intensities, lower velocities reached. Again, I'm using the space. I'm using the number of people. I'm using the rules to constrain the game. But then I do the same thing with like a softball, like a soft, like plushy dodgeball or a soccer ball. All of a sudden, I can open up the space more, higher velocities, faster speeds when you're changing direction, and make it more intense, right? To intensify the game from a speed perspective. Same game. So that's kind of how I look at it. And I think you can gamify anything in that way just by changing rules, adding rules, manipulating constraints to get people to explore, right? To find a movement solution. Like even if you're doing like hurdle hops, you can do different heights each rep. You can have them jump to plates that are different distances away, right? Like as long as you're on turf and not a slippery surface. Like some things along those lines. Like don't be afraid to just leverage constraints more, kind of get outside of the rigid box and have a little bit of fun with it. But ultimately know that you're still going to get a good, or at least, hopefully still getting a good training stimulus. And if you're not, and you're like, that wasn't what I wanted, we can just change the constraints again, change the rules again to get the stimulus that you want to get.
No, that's good. I think one thing I do want to call out too with that, like as you said, to explore a mistake that I've made in the past was I thought implementing a game was the only thing I needed to do in order to create fun. Like for example, I would say, let's play a game today. Young coach, young JT, and like, let's play a game today just to switch things up, right? Everybody knows tag. You were all kids once, right? You got 10 people in the room. Everybody knows it. They're like, yeah, let's play tag. I haven't played that in years. All of a sudden, you got people who haven't even moved side to side, in years. And then I'm over here. I'm like, shoot, why did this dude's ankle just flip on me, right? So I think there's the mistake I made there was I did not give the people the skills to play the game effectively, right? And that I think that for me gave me a better understanding of how to implement movement skills and start to use these movement or constraint based game. So like when we think of the mirror drills, right? If you got people that are new to class, simple, right? Go side to side. Let's move. Follow this person. And then you go. But if they don't even know the technical requirements to move side to side without spraining their ankle, why would you expect them to do that in a fun environment with a little bit more competitiveness? And that's going to be a little higher risk. So I think to look at the programming side of things, it's like, if I have a game of tag, I just keep using that reference. So let's just keep going with that. If we play tag, can I make sure people know how to move front, back, side to side, move their, cross over their hips, those kind of things effectively in a controlled setting, then I'll feel better about, and actually then they'll feel better about moving in those movements. So I think with games, it's a beautiful place to actually see where these drills will come into play and how it'll allow them to be more free and explore. A lot of people don't explore because like they're restricted of just not knowing, and two, their body's not allowing them to explore, right? So I think there's an art to, from a programming standpoint, if a game is where you want to start, implementing some things, make sure they can play the game. You ever hop on a court basketball court where they don't know how to play basketball at all? It's a wild place, bro. Like, the way they move, you don't want to be there because it's almost like somebody's gonna get hurt.
No, for real.
For real. Yeah, let's give people the ability and skills to play the games we want them to play, and then just think back in the YouTube kid playground games. Just implement that in thing, right? Yeah,
and I mean, you can still play tag, right? If they can, it's just like, well, now how can I constrain them, where they're not like sprinting as hard as they can?
Yeah, give them rules.
Like, what can I do? Is it like super small area, a bunch of people, like walking lunge tag? Is it crouch walk tag? Like, is it like what? I mean, whatever. Like, what can I do to constrain them to? Is it like weird brisk walk tag?
Yeah.
Like power walk tag, like whatever. Speed walk tag, right? Like whatever. Like, what can I do that's still fun, but that constrains them?
Yeah.
Like with rules, with space, with whatever.
We'll make an ebook soon. We got it.
Pushin Performance Playtime.
Playtime. Don't play though.
I think if we keep this full blown alliteration out the ass, Pushin Performance Play Place.
Hey, I'm gonna move on to the next one because we can't be sharing secrets just like that. We got to keep this in house. Come on, bro.
TM trademark. TM. That's ours now. TM.
Next question. You ready for it?
Let's get it.
Why is the average lifespan of a coach so short? What are some influences, some fixes, and like what are the problems that you see of why this is happening?
Ooh, I don't know. We're definitely not going to solve this problem here. We probably should. Maybe we just bring a bunch of people on and have a panel discussion about this. It's something that I'm passionate about. I want to see more lifelong coaches. I want to see more career coaches. I've seen the field lose a lot of great people, because of a couple, these different reasons that we're about to get into. But I think a lot of it, like most things, is a misalignment of expectations. And we talked about this with, I cannot remember who, maybe Nabil, maybe Amy, but like coaches coming into the field not knowing what to expect, but not expecting this weird dystopian hellscape that is personal training and strength and conditioning and like the grind you got to get through. You know what I mean? Like, not expecting that, and I don't think like undergrad adequately prepares us for that. Some of our internships don't even adequately prepare us for that. But there are also like incredible internships out there that do. So I think a misalignment of expectations is at the root of a lot of it. Another big thing that jumped out to me was that people don't actually like coaching, again, because at university you're not quite coaching yet, but people just like exercising themselves. Again, like, isn't a bad thing, but to want to learn more about it. But coaching is a service industry. It's a people industry. It's a communication based industry. So if that's not your cup of tea, then like it's obviously not the role for you. But I think you can still do really cool things within the industry, whether it's research, whether it's working for someone in fit tech, where you're not directly working with people one-on-one or in groups daily. But I think those jobs are just a little bit fewer and far between, and kind of hard to not hard to come by, but like hard to find and know what they are. Every company's got a weird title for things now, and I think that's just kind of corporate world in general. But that's another big piece of it. And the last one that really stuck out, I think, for me personally and for like a lot of my friends, like when you look at the other fields, whether it's marketing, whether it's engineering, whether it's coding, computer science, whatever, like the base level, entry level pay sucks. Terrible. And then growth opportunity is also pretty low in a lot of places, right? Like no matter where you are, it's like you're an assistant coach, you're a full-time coach, maybe you're a senior coach, like your rates go up to a certain point, and then maybe you're a, manager of the gym, director of a facility, whatever. And then from there, like if you don't own the facility, then your kind of opportunity for growth kind of dies off. Unless you leave and go into a different avenue within the industry. So I think people see that very early on. And they look at it like a medical device sales type industry. They look at pharmaceutical sales rep type industry. They look at something along those lines and see, all right, well, higher base pay, way more upward mobility, work from home opportunities.
Yeah,
they see all these things, and it's like maybe this isn't the industry for me, and I'm gonna take a job that's more of a means to the end than my passion, and maybe do the fitness thing on the side. Again, that's not wrong. That's not bad. I don't want to like vilify anyone for choosing that route.
Sure.
But I just think those three for me were probably the biggest ones as far as like why the average lifespan is so short.
Those are good. Those are good. Expectations is an interesting one, and I would highly agree, especially in the commercial gym setting. Was it working at 24-hour fitness? Average is what, 6 months of somebody coming on as a trainer and then leaving, right? And I think it ties in pretty nicely with the expectations. You will be training. You think you'll be training, but there's a more of a push of actually selling. We talk about that word a lot. Once that word comes up after grad, you're like, ugh.
Literally.
Right. And I think it's because we were never taught the skills to sell. So there's that aspect. Right. So yeah, misalignment of expectations kind of ties in well with what you said with liking to work out or liking to exercise. Like, we in this business are helping others. And then the fact that we know how to help us doesn't actually know that we know how to help others.
Yeah.
If I know how to grow muscles, for me, it doesn't always mean I know how to help other people grow muscles that ask me. There's more to that, right? And how that influences the lifespan of a coach, I don't know. Maybe the expectation was people aren't listening to me. Like they should be listening to me. What the hell's wrong with that? They're complaining. All these complaints are going out to them, where it's just a reflection of the lack of our knowledge, right? At least with being a young coach, when I would get mad, it's because I didn't know what the hell was being asked of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the pay one is interesting. I had a exact conversation with somebody earlier this morning about the pay, and it was actually an engineer. He said that he manages engineers, and he says that a lot of his engineers are complaining about pay. Right? They don't like engineering because they feel like they don't get paid enough.
Rent's too damn high.
Well, first, it's like when you think of that, like engineer in the Bay, easily $400,000 plus a year.
Golly.
Right. So now, and then you hear with coaches, even at us at some point, like we're complaining about pay too.
Yeah.
Right? And then it always ends up with we don't get paid enough. I think enough is going to run you into more troubles in the long run than not. Like if you don't know what enough is, the lifespan of your whatever career you're in will pretty much be pretty limited.
Yeah.
Because if you're comparing yourself, I don't get paid enough of what? If you can't answer what?
Yeah.
You're always going to
relative to something.
Yeah, and if it's relative to like as a coach working or helping an engineer, if I get, let's just say I get paid $100,000 and I work with an engineer that gets paid $600,000, yeah, I'm not going to be paid enough, and I know that.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So who are you comparing yourself to? If you're comparing yourself to your peers, you're still not going to get paid enough. Like, so I think just the fact
Yeah.
of comparison will shorten your lifespan of your career, no matter where you are. And when I heard an engineer say that,
Yeah.
it was like it's parallels of like it doesn't really matter where you are.
Puts in perspective a little bit, right?
Yeah, $400,000 a year, and you're still complaining. It's the same kind of complaints that you hear from somebody making $50,000. At the end of the day, it's like it's not the money, right? So I think with going back to like
baby.
you got to work on you, and I don't know. There's a lot to that where I'm not siding on one thing, but it's more bringing an awareness of like, do you have an actual number, right?
That's a good. That's a really good point. Yeah, it's tough. Like how, and we've talked about this before, and undoubtedly we'll talk about it again. But like, how do we raise the value of a coach? And I think JT, I think you said it on an episode a couple weeks back, but if we don't value ourselves in what we do, then like no one else is going to. No, it was Nabil. He said that when he came on, our boy. If we don't value ourselves as an industry, as coaches, then no one else is going to. So I think it's like, this is not this sounds like a simple fix. It's not the fix, but it's part of the solution. If we can show objective improvement, if we can show growth, if we can show, hey, we have degrees, certifications, like we are truly subject matter experts, we're providing value to everyone who comes to the door, like that's going to raise your value and hopefully help get your salary to the place where you feel like relative to the field it needs to be, relative to your peers where you feel it needs to be. Also, I think it's important to be transparent about salaries.
Sure.
And what people are making. I know it feels weird to say and kind of taboo to say in corporate culture, but like, especially to people coming into the field, I think we need to be transparent about like what it's like in like salary wise in different places.
Sure.
So that way they can manage their expectations and know if it's truly for them.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yeah. And then before we kind of jump to the next question here, I think it's understanding like our industry, like I don't think there will ever be a number where you can quantify your value as a coach, because the fact that our impact is changing somebody's life, they can put a number on that.
Yeah.
So it's like first understanding like probably relative to our industry, that's a good place to start. Right? What's based off of my skill level and other skill levels, what's the range and bandwidth of what I should be expecting to make? But as a trainer, like as an individual entrepreneur, like you can't really put a number on something. It'll never be enough.
Yeah.
If you know that your value you're providing is improving somebody's life.
It's when you put it in that perspective, it's super weird to like think about and like try to quantify. Like I was part of myself and a physical therapist help this one client, salt to the earth, nicest guy in the world. He's like 66, like lose weight and gain range of motion and get functional enough to then get like a life-saving kidney surgery and then be able to recover from that surgery for like 65 an hour 3 times a week. Like it's so like, you know what I mean? When you put it in that like when you put it in that framework, it's like so crazy to think about. Not that I'm complaining.
Right.
It was like one of the coolest experiences of my career. But like when you try to quantify like your value, it is kind of crazy to think about.
And those things, I can't speak to other industries. Like I would pay for that. I would pay 65 an hour if I knew I would get this guy to live. Like I don't think a lot of careers have that that level of direct impact where they see the change right then and there. Right, the higher you are in leadership, you probably don't see a lot of those direct impacts, but we see that right there.
Yeah.
And it's hard to really quantify that and oversee that. And if you're not in it for that, or if that's not part of why you're in it, then your average lifespan will probably be a little sayonara-ish in a few few months, right? So,
and again, like I don't think it's inherently a bad thing. Like people switch careers all the time.
Yeah,
the fitness industry is no different. I think the fitness industry just likes to think we're different. It's not different. It's very, very similar to other career paths. People figure out it's not for them, and like
right.
that's totally fine. Like, I don't want to force someone to be a lifelong coach, but I just think like, and this is definitely something we have to talk about with more coaches and pick their brains. But I think it's my goal to help more people become lifelong coaches who genuinely want to do it.
Okay, that's why we have this podcast, right?
It's over here. Over here. Yeah. All right, we can keep going on that. We can keep going on that literally forever. But last one, a little short and sweet one. Hopefully providing some big impact. But if you could just talk to young JT, if you can call up young JT on the phone, a young, spry 23-year-old JT, and give him one piece of advice, what would it be?
Man, I love this question a lot. Two things I would say. One, keep doing what you're doing. I'm gonna get the hell out your way, right? Because what am I to complain about? There's nothing I would really regret. Or I said this on the Morning Cup. Shout out, Coach.
Shout out.
Emma.
Shout out.
I'm gonna take the stoic approach here. Right? No such things for me. If I'm talking to him, like wins, failures, successes, all those things that you're probably shooting for, it doesn't really matter. You need to be right about probably where you want to be, but those things aren't what you actually want. It's what you get from those things that you actually want. If you win, why'd you win? How'd you win? If you lose, how'd you lose? How do you not lose it later? But it's not the fact of winning or losing or winning or failing. What did you take from those endpoints, if you will? You know, but he won't listen. He's a young cat. He's like, what you talking about? I make the ball, I'm gonna keep making it. Right.
You out here speaking like Marcus Aurelius, bro. Just a young stoic king.
Daily. What you got, man? What?
I'm changing my answer for the Morning Cup. If I gave a bomb answer in the Morning Cup, listen to the Morning Cup. Shout out Coach Emma. But one I heard from a coach, Ron McKeefrey, I don't know where he's at now. It was at Fresno State for the longest. I don't know where he's at now. But he said, make where you're at the big time.
Ooh, I like that.
I think it's super easy to get caught up in the grass is always greener scenario. And like, you know, you talk about when is enough, right? When is the next goal, the next thing enough? I'm just plugging all of our old shows, but Ram said it on his show when he became the youngest strength coach in NBA history and was like, what's next? And then was like, oh shit, this was it. This is what I wanted. Like, why am I not satisfied? And I feel that now, like, I'm working my dream job. Like, this is the job that I wanted. And then, you know, you get to a point where it's like, what's next? And you're like, hold up. Like, chill out. This is it. This is what you wanted. Like, how can we, yes, always keep an eye on the future, always keep an eye on growth, but then make where you're at the big time. Right. And I think, you know, no matter where you're at now, if you're close to where you want to be, if you're close to your end career goal, if you're super far away and just starting and your end career goal feels untouchable, feels unreachable right now, there's no reason that you can't kick ass where you're at right now. But there's no reason that you can't show up and be the best damn coach in that facility wherever you are right now. And that's only going to lead to great impact, great outcomes, and then more upward mobility, more people seeing you, more people realizing your value and what you bring to the table. So even if your situation is shit, and I've been in some bad situations, right? There's no reason that you can't show up every day for your people and be the best version of yourself, be the best coach you can possibly be, try to maximize the hell out of what you're doing, make that place the best version of that place that it can be, and then, you know, leave it better than you found it, right? And then, you know, not saying you're not looking at the future, not saying you're not preparing for the future, but I think it starts internally, like, you know what, no matter where I'm at, this is how I'm going to show up. This is how I'm going to act. This is how I'm going to move. This is how I'm going to coach. Like, it's going to be the best of my abilities. And that mentality for me, when I can cultivate that, and it's hard. It's not like easy, especially if you're in a bad situation, right? Like it's not always easy, but the times I've been able to really cultivate that mentality, it's made work so much more enjoyable for me. It's made outcomes way better for my clients because I'm, actually really showing up every single day. And I'd like to think that it's only helped accelerate my career. Like I'd like to think that's worked for the most part, right? And it's only helped, me get more visibility and meet more people and do more at the end of the day.
Yeah. Man, I love that. That fires me up. I feel like that's why this question is such a tough one to answer, because my thought is everything that has led up to where I am now is the reason why I'm here where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And it's tough to really conceptualize that, knowing that like, oh, maybe if I gave this advice to this person, I probably wouldn't have made the mistakes I needed to make in order to know the things I know now. Knowing that mistakes are needed to be made in order for me to learn those lessons.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, like I love that one a lot, because like wherever you're at, you're gonna learn a skill that will actually prepare you anyway to the place you want to be. So you might as well learn it now where you are here, right?
Exactly.
Like you said, it's hard to know that and say it comfortably when you're not in the situation. But still,
it's hard.
It's there. Take it however you need it, right?
Yeah. I mean, to that point, I think like, talking about like you got to learn the lesson to grow. I think, definitely can learn from our mistakes too. Like, but it might not resonate. Like sometimes you need that slap in the face, like, oh, I messed up.
Yeah.
To really make a change. But I think there's also times where it's like, you listen to JT on his stoicism and you say, you know what? I feel that. For whatever reason that resonates with you, that works. That's great. You know what I mean? I'd rather have you make less mistakes on your way to the top than we did, hopefully.
Sure. Yeah. That's where influences are and mentors play a role, right? Like maybe some things have to be said from somebody else for you to actually resonate it.
Exactly.
Or have it resonate with you.
Exactly. My wife hates hearing things from me. I tell her something, she's like, Phil, shut up. She hears it on an Instagram reel. She hears it on TikTok. She's like, I'm going to do this thing.
That frustrates me so much. Why is it like that?
I've given up.
Why is it like that?
Now I'm just like, hey, that's all. Yes. Hell yeah. That's a great idea.
Still, it's
I told you so stuff does not work. Do not say I told you so. That shit does not work. Do not say I told you so. I've been told you that. Yeah, no, do not do that. Do not do that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm changing my advice. Do not say that shit to your partner. That's my advice.
What are you gonna do?
I've been trying to tell you. You ain't listen. Don't do that. Don't do that to your partner. Do not do that to your partner. That's a mistake every time. That is my one piece of advice to my younger coach self.
Don't do that.
Don't. Yeah, I told you so, your partner.
Here's more things that you don't want to.
Yeah. We're actually changing the show. This is now a relationship podcast. It only took it was a matter of time before we devolved into some toxic male stuff.
Here we go. Ooh, that's gonna be side quest.
We talked about money. We talked about stoicism. We talked about relationships. We're devolving.
We are devolving out of our scope, and I love it. Let's.
We are becoming a toxic male podcast. Next week, y'all, on the show, we're going to be talking about our investment portfolios, and how to maximize returns in this the current state of the market. So,
from two coaches who are complaining about pay.
If you want to 10x your income, tap in next week for that episode.
Oh man, we're about to be unsubscribed, my friend. Let's land this plane quick. Please.
Golly. Oh my goodness, this is fun. JT, where can people find you?
CoachJT.mp3 on IG and on Threads. Hit us up there.
Hit the boy. Hit the boy on Threads. You can find me on IG and Threads at Nashville. You can find the show on IG, YouTube, and Threads at Pushin Performance. No G. 0 G's. And yeah, as always, if you love the show love how you're supposed to. Give the boys a 5-star rating, review the show, and please, it helps a ton. Share with a colleague, share with a friend who you think could level up from giving the show a listen. And don't worry, we're going to stay within our scope, and we will never, ever talk finance and stock market again.
No promises. Try not
I can
to.
promise you. I can promise you. If you want to lose money, you can listen to me. All right. We'll catch y'all next time.
Later.
Peace.
Put my